All right. Well, amazing guest, dear friend, opportunity to share some incredible stuff. But first, today's episode of The Real Deal On is brought to you by Guided Hypnotic Meditation. If you're feeling stressed out, full of anxiety, perhaps experiencing day terrors or worse, night terrors, download your free guided hypnotic meditation at guidedhypnotic.com. That's my, I sponsor myself. So,
All right. Good. That's good. I was impressed.
right? So, huge opportunity. I first must preface, of all the years that we worked in recovery, one of the best personal development movies out there is We Are Twisted Fucking Sister. I just have to put that out there. It is one of the most impressive personal development proof of what it takes to succeed when you've got the odds stacked against. I want to thank you for doing it and sharing that, because that was a game changer.
And thank you. And first of all, I was really glad the story was presented in a documentary. So because majority of people, except those in the Northeast, had no idea of the struggle of the 10 years the band went through. That it pre-existed Motley Crue and Rat and Poison by almost a decade. It was crazy. But also that it is motivating, and that's what I hear from people more than anything. I get so much respect from it. People say, look, I'm not a Twisted fan, but I saw your documentary, and I've had so much respect for you guys. And then there's people who say, I am a Twisted fan, but it's just taken me to another level because I didn't know how hard you guys fought for what you got. You earned every single thing you achieved. So I'm really happy that story came out and that people are watching it and seeing it. It's cool. Thank you for that.
Dude, I was blown away. And whenever I even if I feel like I've got odds stacked against me, I either think about it or I go watch it again, because I'm like, oh man, I got to own, I'm Doug fucking McGurk. Like that, just that shirt was like, love it. So you have one of the things, the purpose of this experience, and thank you so much for sharing your most valuable asset, your time here, is overcoming obstacles. And that is proof positive of you've done it, and you continued to do it, because you've continued to have challenges as all humans. The industry has changed. You went from, changing actual kind of avenues, getting into voiceovers, acting, writing movies. How do you keep that energy up? And what is it inside you that keeps the fire burning?
This is going to sound very facetious, but it is not. It is fear. Honestly, I had a very, and Doug, because we met at at close to the low point of my life. Meeting you was a low point,
right? No, thank you for being honest.
That was even worse. And in my book, "Shut Up and Give Me the Mic," I talk about it. That I fell from grace. The music scene changed. The band broke up. I had no record deal. I spent all the money, and I wasn't drunk. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't blame anybody for the money being spent. I was just a rock star, and my ego wouldn't accept that the whole thing had ended, and I wouldn't change my lifestyle, and I burned through any money I made, and I lost everything. I had a year in the early 90s where on my income tax it said zero income.
Wow.
I was deeply in debt. And climbing out of that hole, and people say, well, how did you do it? How'd you do it? I say it was 10% inspiration and 90% desperation. I woke up one day, I had been informed, I got the memo, we're not doing what you do anymore musically. That was the grunge memo. It says, we're not singing like you, performing like you, writing like you, or looking like you anymore. Thank you for your service. Like, what? And I had no exit strategy, and I was married, I had 3 kids. So I started scrambling and trying to find other avenues, other ways to make money. And some of the earliest ones, you met me around job 2. Before that, I'd been answering phones in an office at a desk, and people would walk in and see me. This is 1990. Three, I say. Three, yeah. And they'd see me and go, hey, aren't you Dee Snider? And I would lie and say I wasn't, and they would believe I wasn't, because what would Dee Snider be doing sitting in this office answering phones?
Yeah, I hear that a lot. It's my doppelganger.
Yeah, if only, So I was able to, at that time, to use the fact that people just couldn't possibly accept that this guy that it seemed like only yesterday they saw on MTV was now working in an office. So but slowly I started to get out of there. But now I have this inherent fear, like a shark. If I stop moving, I will die. So it's not haunting. I don't need guidedhypnotics.com, no panic attacks. But it just is in there that I never want to go through that soul crushing, life affirming and just terrifying moment in my life again. So I'm always creating new projects and new things to hopefully generate more money, even though I'm comfortable and I could stop. I can stop, but I just mentally can't stop.
Well, right. And so when you had that shift, how did you start getting into like voiceovers and stuff like that? Was that a passion you always had, doing radio, or was that a byproduct of you taking action and looking for things to do?
Certainly, this was going to come up sooner or later, because you know that I'm a fan of Tony Robbins, and Tony was a game changer for me. And this was around 91 that I discovered Tony. So I hadn't hit rock bottom yet. We had moved to Florida, sold our house, but I still, wait a minute, no, Desperado was over, Widowmaker, I don't know, I still had this I had some money left. I still felt like I'm gonna pull out of this. I'm gonna salvage this. And 91 is still, if you Guns N' Roses was out 91. So grunge hadn't really set the memo out yet. Yeah, so I still was convincing myself that I could fix this. I could fix this, But in the process of trying to fix it, I stumbled on Tony's tapes. Back then it was tapes and book. And I was at like an 80% level as far as performance, feeling like, it was just about 20% what just didn't feel right. And he filled in that 20%. And one of the great lessons I learned from him, and one I try to pass on to so many people, the setup is this. He said, people say they never get opportunities. Oh, I never get the chance. I never have opportunities. Opportunities come to all of us every day. Chances come to all of us every day. We're given choices every single day, but most of us ignore them, don't see them, or turn away from them. And from that lesson, I learned to just say yes. Prior to that lesson, I was very hung up on making sure that I was always ready. I had to be rehearsed. I couldn't embarrass myself or look bad in the situation. And I taught myself to just say yes and then figure it out later. And this isn't a fake it till you make it situation. This is figure it out. So, so at that point, when someone said to me, hey, you got a great voice, you could do voiceover, I never even thought about it. I said, okay. And I figured it out, and I hit the ground and started going to auditions and booking. And I've been doing voiceover now for decades. Radio was something I wanted to get into, but that required starting on a little local metal show. You don't just walk into a six-figure job, but I've been doing it for 30 years now, and I am a six-figure voiceover radio.
Yeah, House of Hair is still rocking.
22 years, 200. I just got more new stations. It's just crazy, but it's the music of a generation. And it also, the 80s has this sort of romanticized appeal to young people. It embodies this, I call it the middle finger factor.
Right.
This sort of, F you, we're going to have fun, and people, and it was colorful and bright and crazy. And I think younger people look at it as some sort of amazing time. And it was an amazing time. So, but I don't live back there. So right. One of the greatest Just Say Yes moments for me was I went to see the premiere of Rock of Ages on Broadway. And one of the producers came up and said, hey, what would you think about being in the show? And I said, yeah. Okay. Now, I'd acted. I'd never done theatrical work other than a high school play or something.
Right.
And I really didn't know what I was doing. 2 years later, I'm on safari with my family and a satellite phone rings. It's my manager. I'm like, oh, come on, Phil. This was like my wife's dream to have the family on safari. 2 weeks, we're in the freaking jungle. And he's calling, he goes, you're in. And I said, I'm in what? She goes, Rock of Ages. My wife, looking at my face, said she thought somebody died. But that was, my jaw dropped. And I said, next word I said was when. Now she's sure somebody died.
Right.
Her face went, I turned white, when. And she said, who died? I said, nobody, I'm in Rock of Ages. And she's like, when? I said, we get home in a week. The next day I go into rehearsals. 2 weeks after that, I'm on stage. I'm getting chills right now, remembering the moment and just like my brain frying. But hey, you know, if I didn't say yes 2 years earlier, and as a result, I rose to the occasion, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life to do 3 months on a Broadway stage and be in that environment and face that challenge, 8 shows a week.
Wow.
You know, for 12 weeks. It was, you know, again, people say yes, figure it out later.
Well, first of all, I just want to say you're also one of the most underrated performers as a singer. Like, I don't think people understand until they see you the stamina you have, the ability to take an audience like to another level energetically. Like, talk about Tony Robbins. You have that same level of intensity to enroll people. So what a gift everyone had for 8 nights a week to see, or 8 nights a week, 8 times a week to see you with that level of consistency, which is
well. And amazing. By the way, if you haven't seen it and you're interested, I have a new album coming out. It's a live DVD, Blu-ray, and CD, For the Love of Metal Live, and I really like it because it does capture not just my performing, but there's a lot of the interstitial. I talk to the audience. I'm a frontman.
Yeah.
And that's something that people don't really understand, the delineations. There are singers, there are entertainers, and there are frontmen. And the singers, you know, people like Ronnie Dio, for example, who really just get out there, Paul Rogers, and they stand out there and they sing, and they don't need anything else. Or they just don't do anything else, and you're perfectly happy to just, back in the day, to see Dio just, you know, piercing chain mail.
Right.
This guy 4 feet tall, and his voice, it was just incredible.
Yeah.
And then there's entertainers. Michael Jackson was an entertainer. Alice Cooper's an entertainer. They put on a show, but they don't really engage the audience.
Right.
They don't even talk to the audience. Like, thank you. You know, and Alice doesn't say words to the audience, but he's entertaining.
Right.
Frontmen, they sing, they dance, and they engage. And, you know, frontman, David Lee Roth in his prime was a great frontman. Mm-hmm. Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden is a great frontman. Freddie Mercury was a great frontman. And it's a lost art, really, because one of the, you know, people say, how do you get your chops together? By doing bar shows for years and years and years and refining my stage banter patter, you know, and how to work the crowd. So on the new For the Love of Metal Live, it is pretty well documented. So you should check it out. And it's a good time for a live album since there's no live concerts.
This is true. And it is heavy. Holy crap. It is amazing.
Yeah, the new band has breathed new life into me. And that's the thing too, you know, again, in the Just Say Yes heading, you know, Jamie Josta on her podcast, which I'll be doing tomorrow, challenged me to do a true metal record, something I wanted to do, but I just didn't see the path. So sometimes the message here is you have to accept guidance, you know, and when Just Saying Yes to Broadway, you know, I rose to the occasion with the kindness of strangers. There was a director, there was a choreographer, and I paid attention. So I didn't go in there like a bull in a China shop and go, yeah, I got this. Yeah, right. You know, I thought it through. I'm ready to do it. It really was an education, and I went in with all ears. And For the Love of Metal with Jamie Josta and all the great performers who I work with from other bands, even at, at the ripe old age of 62 or 3 at the time, I just was, listen to these kids, they're kids to me.
Yeah.
And because, they're going to teach you something. So always, always be learning, and always be open.
You totally rose to the challenge, brother. I mean,
Thank
and
you.
your voice is, do you still warm up regularly? Like, how do you keep your voice in shape?
I'm very bad with that. I'm very bad. You're supposed to keep singing, and like I haven't done anything now in since August. So we're approaching a year since I sang anything. So I'm sure when it comes time to go do something again, I'm gonna have to do a little warming up to say the least. Because you should be. It's a muscle, and it'll atrophy, and it's really true. So. I don't know. What'll happen is when I know that there's a gig coming, like in a month.
Yeah, your muscles will remember.
Then I'll start going to the vocal gym again and like warming up. But right now.
Well, I remember when we were doing Widowmaker, I don't think I knew that you also went to Don Lawrence. So I hear you coming down and you're like, Undi Felice. I'm like, what?
You know what's really interesting about that? I did you mentioned this before. I did a show on Broadway called Rocktopia. And Rocktopia was a classic meets rock mashup with orchestra, rock band, Broadway singers, opera singers, and they had a rotating rock singer. The guy from Train, Robin Zander, me. I was the best. And so two things in there. One was that you talked about the fact that I'm underrated as a vocalist. So in the show, I had to sing Stairway to Heaven. I had to sing Kashmir and Dream On. So my first song was Stairway to Heaven. And they introduced me and I walk out on stage and the theaters, they sold out shows the whole time, the whole run. And we actually took it on the road a little bit too. And I step up to the mic and I start singing, there's a lady who's sure, and all this like plant, fine, soft voice. You could hear the audience gasp, audibly gasp, and because they thought I was going to go, there's a lady who's like they thought I was going to come out like Jerry Lewis or something, And after the show, every show, people, I didn't know you could sing. And I'm like, what do you think I've been doing? Well, yeah, but that was, you. This is, they didn't know. And so there was, and then I got to this because, so during my warm-ups, the opera singers would hear me warming up and underneath, all the Don Lawrence uses a lot of Italian. Yeah. And they came in, they said, you could sing opera. And I said, I don't know, I can sing opera. They said, we hear you through the walls. You should be singing the opera. So they wound up changing the show. And it was a great moment where we had this mashup of Kashmir and Cante Patiro, and the opera singers are singing Cante Patiro, and then I cut in with Kashmir, and we go back and forth to like a battle, and all of a sudden I cut in, and everybody would expect me to start singing Kashmir, and I started singing Cante Patiro in full operatic voice. Dude, every show, the entire audience, again, on their feet, I'm getting chills because they would jump to their feet, going, what the I don't know if you curse on this show.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, what the F is, because Dee Snider is now singing opera with opera singers, and we finished with at the end. Place would go nuts. Again, though, the expectations are so low. I can't help anything is better than what they thought. But I really, people, it's one of my biggest frustrations about Twisted Sister, and this is just, this is about life is like this, and this applies to everything. Is people want to define you by something, and they assume that if you choose something that's considered, I don't want to say lowbrow, but simpler or easier or different, that's what you're doing. You're pedaling as fast as you can. Dee Snider sings, with that voice because that's all he can do. No, it's what I chose to do. And Eddie Ojeda is an amazing guitar player. JJ is an accomplished blues guitar player. AJ Pirro was in a swing at 10. God may rest in peace. Toured the world. Little Anthony Pirro in a swing band. I see him in front of the Eiffel Tower with a huge orchestra at 10. He was trained by Gene Krupa. The guy
Wow.
could
Oh
play,
my
the
gosh.
guy played anything, but he chose to play boom, ba, because we loved rock and roll, you know?
Yep.
So it's frustrating when people want to limit you by your past performances.
Well, and not only by performances, you're also an accomplished songwriter that are outside of your genre.
Yeah, that's yeah, well, yeah, accomplished. Yeah, but we know that a little known fact that I wrote a song which you were around for when it was
Yep.
recorded. Uh, for my wife asked me to write her a Christmas song, and I wrote her one for as a Christmas gift. And years later, Celine Dion recorded it on her "These Are Special Times" album, which I don't know if you know is the biggest selling holiday record of all time, 14 million copies. So it's called "The Magic of Christmas." And yeah, and so so that was unexpected as well. And right now, I've got a kids animated TV show in development, and that I'm writing the music for that. And I just took a straight ahead AC/DC approach to the music, but changing the melodies, but changing the words to work for kids. So little kids. So yeah, again, people are often surprised by when they discover the different things that I do.
Well, I can't thank you enough for continuing to doing it, because I think by doing so, you're proving what's possible. Because so many times I think especially now, I'm sure you're seeing how everyone is being boxed into things. And a lot of preconceived notions are being made because of these boxes. And the fact that you continue to break through those boxes and reinvent yourself and proving what's possible is tremendous and necessary.
Thank you. Thanks for appreciating that. And also is a time where people are finding the same thing that I ran into in the 90s, is they're not doing what you're doing anymore. We're in a really dark time where the jobs situations are changing, and your jobs you're losing those jobs, and you're going to find out that some people, when we come out of this thing, are going to adjust their system. They go, you know what, we did some things because of the COVID thing, but that kind of worked. So why are we having this big office building when really everybody can just work from home just as easily? I mean, for example, and we did so, hey, we were able to get the job done with less employees, so let's do that. So people are in a position where they need to start looking around and say, what else can I do? What else am I capable of? And beyond dealing with a box that the outside's putting you in, we often put ourselves in one. We limit ourselves and we say, well, this is what I do. And we're afraid to take a chance and go out of that safe zone, or to say, people, do not limit yourself. People, you're really capable. Everybody is capable of a lot more than they realize. And usually, like our brains, we use what X percentage of our brains. I think we, as a people, we use such a limited part of our actual abilities. And the things that we're capable of, and you should not limit yourself.
Totally. And so what do you see as the future? Like, have you ever had that moment where you felt beaten? Because I know you didn't get a whole lot into you. Like you kind of make fun of me when I emailed you one time and I said, progress, not perfection. And you were like, are you using that on me? I'm the master of PMA. Like, but so do you ever have those moments of like, holy crap, what am I going to do? And how do you move past it if you feel like you've boxed yourself or been boxed?
Well, I'm sorry about that. I should sign out of my internet, my AOL. But I'm using AOL, but it's ironically. I'm AOL ironically. Like, AOL. And I'm wearing a Von Dutch hat. Okay? Anyway, how do I can't, having a support system. In my situation, when I fell, and this was when I woke up in the early 90s, and I was just, I was out flying cars at one point. I remember, to make some money, flying cars and running. I was being chased by security at this place. I was flying cars at a catering hall. for a wedding thing they were doing, and I was running from security, and it wasn't because I was afraid to go to catering hall jail. I just didn't want them to see me and recognize me in the parking lot flying cars. But I fell, and I was pretty immobilized. And Suzette, having 3 kids looking at me with those big, beautiful eyes, and daddy, and that kind of the pressure of that responsibility, that's motivating. But also having a wife, Suzette, 44 years we've been together, and she's the only person who never, ever, ever once said to me, maybe you should do something else, or maybe you should give up. And that is really a valuable thing, especially when your career choice is one where you get a lot of rejection, and and maybe you're faced yourself with saying, well, maybe it's time to pack it in, or much longer am I going to do it? And to have someone who's cheering you on. And when I fell in the early 90s, she was my support system, and she cheered me on and picked me up and dusted me off, and I got back out there. So really, I can't take credit for myself. I was, thank you, Suzette. Thanks to my kids. And the one thing I will say is that, it was one of those points where it was like, okay, your choices are this or figure it out. And this was never an option to me, not with those kids who needed their dad, and so you just, and it was humbling. But humbling is a good thing. A good humbling, it really is a healthy thing for everybody. Brings you down to earth and gives you perspective, again, that perspective on what's important, what's real, what matters. And, and that's really what, from that point on, I've never, it's funny though, I react very differently. I had a period, this was, I've thinking about it in retrospect. I had a $200,000 a year morning radio show, and I had a $200,000 a year contract with MSNBC to do the voice to voice their network. So that was $400,000 a year of my income, and I lost both those gigs within 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I remember like going, okay, and just sort of like steaming on, like I didn't even like allow it to like knock me over as it had once done, because okay, if I allowed that overwhelm to hit me again, what was it going to do? It changed zero. It changed nothing. I had to scramble and figure it out and keep going and keep making money and keep paying for my family, keep paying the bills. And I did. But it was almost like years later when I thought back on it, I go, holy crap. I was like, what a 2 gigs like that. And they were the bulk of my income. And then I said, well, now you got more time to do other things.
Well, I appreciate that. It's like after you get into like a near miss in a car accident, and then you're like, then the hyperventilation, just like, holy crap, look what almost happened. Like you could have lost it, like lost your mind and gone dark again. And then you go, whoa, that was crazy.
You're right, but it wakes you up. It's life affirming, and gets the heart going. And like, okay, I'm awake. It's like you're on high alert. So
but also it makes me think. And then again, this is why I love just the movie you shared about how you push through the challenge and the work that it takes to achieve the level of success that you did. When you appreciate and go, oh my gosh, like you needed to do the work, you need to be flexible. So when you get humbled, when something like that happens, you go, well, wait a minute, I could do it again because I did it once already. And you tap back into that mindset, that focus, that drive, that ability to break through whatever conversations. But if you never had that, if you never did do the work, when these things happen, you're like, fuck, what am I going to do?
Exactly. Yeah, very, very true. So there's 2 things I want to tell you before I go. one, and this is, I know what you're about. There's a director named Adam Green. He's a horror director predominantly. He's known for the blanking out on the name of the movies, but he does. But anyway, he was a fan and we became friends. But he tells a story, and it's on his as bonus on his DVDs. He's got a podcast. He's got a few different things going on. Adam Green, and of how he was struggling and had these dramatic, awful falls from along his path, and coincidentally, he ran into me. He was a fan, whether it was at a show, outside a show, at a concert event where I was appearing, at one of his critical moments in LA where it was giving up on his whole career. I turned out that I was signing copies of Strangeland across the street at the Virgin Video store. And he got online and each time he spoke to me, and the truth is I don't remember. I didn't remember the events. But I'm a cheerleader, and when he told me how bad things were for him and he was giving up hope, I grabbed him by the shoulder and I said, dude, fuck that, get back in there, fight. I gave him the pep talk and sent him back out, and he went, yeah, and he ran out. And eventually he's had a very solid career. He does a lot of indie filmmaking, but he's had a solid career doing that and television and writing. And he credits me with always being there to pick him up. And when we became friends, I performed the ceremony at his wedding and what have you.
Oh wow, nice.
And and we're very close, but we've explored it, and I realized that the time that he was running into me was at the low points in my career, and when I was telling him to get back in there and fight, I was reminding myself, seeing what he was going through. And I was really just as much saying to him, at the points where he saw me signing autographs here, he saw me outside a show. It was a little club show with Widowmaker, and nobody was there. He doesn't remember that. It was so ill attended, but he was such a fan. All he knew was that his hero was on stage, and I spoke to him at the back door. I was driving the van. We were going to the van. But he just thought I was a star. But here I was giving this kid a pep talk, and it was a pep talk that I needed to keep reminding myself the same things message I was sending him, not to give up, keep on fighting, stand up, believe, all that reaffirmation. It was interesting that he was helping me while I was helping him, and he didn't realize it. He actually wrote a screenplay called Dee and Me, but he never sold. So you gotta, sometimes you gotta be your own cheerleader.
Yeah,
100%. Not lucky enough to have one. Yeah, well, ego can be a wonderful thing, especially if it makes you stand back up and keep going, moving forward. The last I want to tell you guys is, something that I feel is really important. Suzanne and we built a house on the beach in the Caribbean in Belize. And it's, of course there's an economic element, but there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and the thing I want to say to people is many people, a lot of people talk about the one day we're gonna, one day I'm gonna. And I don't know what the percentage is, but not a lot of them follow through, because a lot of the things that we dream about doing one day, they're actually not easy things to achieve. To build any kind of house, and you don't have to be a rich rock star to build a house on the beach. There are houses to be built, small places, this and that. The point is, whether it's I'm going to get in a van and a motorhome and drive around the country, very few people follow through. And Suzette and I would always talk about one day we're going to build a house. And I realized we were getting to that point in our life where it was like, are we going to be one of those people who talked about it, or one of those people who actually did it? Because it wasn't easy. It took years, and it was an undertaking. And that's one of the reasons why people kind of look at it when they get there and go, well, this is kind of insurmountable. I think I may not wind up doing this. So don't be the 10% who actually do the things that they talk about one day doing. It's never easy, but do you really want to be one of those people who lives with that regret? And there's a lot of people who say, gee, I always wanted to. I never did. It's possible.
Well, and that cuts back to your share earlier about saying yes.
Yes, say yes. You say yes. And again, doing, now I sit there and now the day goes by and I walk out and look at this ocean and I go, we did it. We're here. I can't believe and it's been years, 5 years now. And every day I just look out there and go, holy crap.
Is that your home now, or are you Belizean?
Well, not legally, but we split our time down here. We've been down here like since January now. But that's partially because of what's going on with COVID.
Right.
But we usually, we split time between here and the States. But it's just been a dream come true. But nobody made the dream for us. We made it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And yes, and look, I apologize for the painting in the back. It's the guest room. My wife put some native art here. Look what's going on here. That's the Mayas. They carved that, but my wife painted it. It's free.
Okay. Oh wow.
So, and the roof is peach. It's not very metal, I know, but we've got a guest room. No, it's not for you. Anyway.
Dude, I want to honor your time. Thank you so much. We love you and Suzette so much, and the kids and everybody. And thank you for being, I know we haven't been able to hang because every time I go to Vegas, you're like, I'm in Belize. I want to try, love to get together.
We've been missing where it's hard. And by the way, you're not the only one. We miss everybody. The rare time that we actually we're in Vegas. Hey! It's so rare that actually happens.
Yeah.
Or where somebody else is. But the day will come.
Yeah, of course. Well, dude, thank you so much. So much love to you and Suzette. And thank you for being an inspiration to me. And it's a whole other thing about people should know about and I think everyone does, your relationship with your family, with Suzette, and how incredible of a family man you are that is, beyond. So thank you for being a model for.
They are my salvation, man. They are my salvation.
Yep.
Period.
Well, I love you for who you are and who you aren't. Go to DeeSnider.com. Download the live For the Love of Metal. It is freaking heavy. Love it.
Yeah. Pre-orders now. The record officially comes out. Record and DVD officially come out on the 31st, but doing pre-orders. And I got all those special, packages and bonuses and things like that. But it's a very unique live album as well. It's not just one show. It was filmed at like 9 different shows all over the world, and we cut from show to show, day to night, rain to sun, South America to Australia, in one line of a song.
Whoa!
It moves, so it goes, and the message was. And we're able to do that because the drummer plays to a click, by the way. You appreciate it, Doug. So it allowed the timing to be good. But I wanted to show the universality of metal and the connection we all share through music. Where, and you'll see audiences all over the world, and they're all sharing and responding to the moment in the same way. And I, God, I could talk to you forever, dude, and I'm sure you'd be glad to. There's a book called Heavy Metal Islam that I read a few years ago, which talked about while the Middle East is still fighting amongst themselves, through metal, the young people, the community is connected through all barriers.
Wow.
They're all connected. The answer is there through the commonality, the love of music, the uniform of metal, the everything, and that was that's a very interesting book. I was very proud when they went to talk to one guy, I think he was in Syria, a guitar player, and his screensaver was a picture of me.
There you go.
When they asked him about it, he said, we all owe Dee Snider for his fight against censorship. And it didn't even hit me that we talk about censorship in a very mild way. They're dealing with censorship on a whole other freaking level. Being a metalhead over there is like illegal.
Right.
So the point is, just getting back to For the Love of Metal Live, was to make that statement through flashing through all over the world in one song. And so it's a pretty interesting thing to watch. So check it out.
Love it. Yeah. No, I mean, I was listening to it before getting into state before talking to you, and it's like Heidi, my wife, walked by and she's like, "Whoa, yeah, it's freaking heavy." I'm like, "I know."
Yeah, they're heavy. And the DVD is entertaining as hell. So anyway, great talking to you, Doug. Take care,
As
everybody.
always, love you, brother.
GuidedHypnotic.com, everybody.
That's right. Get your meditation on. All right, brother. Thank you so much. Love you, man. Peace.
Bye-bye.